Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time, help you have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, help contractors build great teams. Stacie Waller from TrueCordia is our guest today. And Tracy, what does TrueCordia do?
We do insurance for franchises and associations on a national level.
Okay. And you work with contractors exclusively, or that's your biggest market?
That's probably the biggest part of who we work with. Franchising is a big contracting venue, and that's really how we started. And then we met actually Service Nation and a couple other associations that work with a lot of contractors. So it's small contractors, large contractors, and we are licensed in all states.
Okay. So what do you think the biggest mistake contractors in general make around insurance?
You know what? I would say the biggest mistake is not paying attention to their insurance. And so I think it's really important to find an insurance agent that's going to really explain to you what your policies do. Because there's so many exclusions built into these policies, and you really don't want to find out something's not covered once you have a claim.
I know. I just got a dishwasher and the mice ate the cords that wasn't covered, right? Mice eating. So it's like, so you don't want to find out until you make the claim, right? So question, do you ever have contractors who, for example, their subcontractors don't have the right insurance and they don't know it, and then they end up getting sued and brought into a lawsuit by a subcontractor who wasn't covered?
Oh, we've had that happen, and it is so important to make sure that your subcontractors have the right insurance in place and really having that risk transfer. More importantly is having a subcontractor contract with them, which we actually have copies here. If you need a copy of that, we're happy to provide that for you. But where a certificate of insurance doesn't always tell you enough about their insurance, plus it's not a contract. So by having the subcontractor contracts, it's going to hold up in court much better.
So, for example, if you have a roofing guy you're working for, he sent you a certificate of insurance. Who knows? He may have lied, may have not lied. They do that occasionally. Somebody falls off a roof and gets hurt, and then his brother-in-law is an attorney. Just kidding. So they bring everybody into it, right, including the contractor?
They do. And, I had one of my largest workers' comp claims ended up being a subcontractor's employee who they let their workers' comp lapse. And so what happens is the subcontractor's employees are automatically covered under your work comp policy. And so my general contractor ended up losing his comp policy because the claim ended up being $750,000. And so he had to go to high risk. So again, really important to make sure that you're getting those certificates on an annual basis because they could let it expire. And that's what happened to this one. Had a certificate, didn't get a renewal cert, and their insurance had expired.
Now, how do you know if your insurance agent knows a lot about construction? How do you tell?
I would go by experience, like asking them who are they working with, what kind of contractors have they worked with. I think it's important, we've worked with contractors for over 25 years, so we know the industry well. But it's really like, what is their specialty is asking the agent what their experience is.
Okay. So you don't want to have an insurance agent that has you as his only contractor.
Right.
Right. That's a bad idea, right?
That's a bad idea.
Okay. How would you vet insurance agencies if you're looking for one as a contractor?
I think, of course, you should reach out to us because that's what we specialize in. Right. But I think really, finding an agent is just really asking questions like, what type of other clients do they have that are doing in the industry? Are they plumbing, electrical, roofing? What kind of contractors do they work with?
Okay. So in your case, you've been what's the most common claim against contractors for insurance that you've dealt with?
In the plumbing industry, there's common claims, and that's like a pipe leaking or a pipe bursting. But I think what's really important is like contractors' errors and omissions are professional. If you are doing any type of design work, you can get coverage for workmanship, which is one of the number one exclusions on a policy. So it's, take a look at the coverages that are available and make sure that you're going through that with your agent.
So what happens is, unfortunately, most contractors don't know what they don't know, right?
Right.
And so they find out when it's late, when they get in a claim, and they go, well, you were excluded against somebody drunk driving, or excluded against something that they only try to exclude the stuff that happens all the time. No offense, insurance companies have been known to do that, right?
Yeah, and I tell when I talk to any contractor, any insurance person, like there's two major exclusions in a policy. One is workmanship. They're not going to be a warranty for your work. The other exclusion is what's in your care, custody, and control. So if you have someone that's a plumber, the pipes that you're working on. But if you're a lawn care and you're working on a lawn, well, that lawn is in your care, custody, and control. So that's excluded from the policy. So you're like, what am I getting for insurance? And so there are endorsements, like we talked about, Contractors Professional, that you can add that would give them coverage for that. So it's really important to go what's available, what's not covered, and just really knowing some of the major exclusions.
So how do they find out what the exclusions are on their policy? Because they're never, no offense, they're never going to read it. I mean, they just don't do that. It's like 300 pages long, right?
No, if I have to read a policy, like it kills you. But I think that if you go through when you are first setting up a policy with an agent, just don't look at the premium, because sometimes you're getting what you pay for. So you really want to go through and I would go through the proposal, like we'll list, hey, here's some major exclusions, or here's things that you need to be aware of. And so it's just really, again, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but really reviewing this with your agent and asking the right questions, like what is not covered? What should I be concerned about? What else is available? Are there endorsements out there that I can add to my policy?
So what if your insurance agent didn't understand what wasn't covered? I mean, let's say you're the only contractor he's got, and there's some workman's comp thing that he didn't quite understand, and all of a sudden you get sued. I mean, does the agent get sued? I mean, I know legal, lawsuits are terrible, but that's why people have insurance, right?
Right. I think that insurance agents get pulled in if they did not provide the proper information to the client. But normally, if you're getting sued and the policy doesn't cover it, then then you're responsible for it as that contractor. And so if an agent didn't provide an option for you or explain that, then it could be the agent's fault.
Right.
But
so
hopefully,
So the example is they're not going to tell. So some gets bitten by some vicious dog that their guy has in their truck, and the dog bites the kid, and and then there's some column 3, column 6, vicious dogs are not covered, right?
well, liability, general liability gives you bodily injury and property damage out of negligence. So if that dog, they were negligent in letting that dog out, I would like to say there's coverage for that. I think, too, it's really being aware of not always listening to an adjuster. Sometimes these insurance companies might have younger employees that aren't as experienced running claims. Just because they tell you no, something's not covered, I'd be asking, well, tell me where in the policy where does it say that this is not covered? And again, that's where your agent should be going to bat for you. There are times where we'll get something that it's declined, but we're able to go back and renegotiate it because I think they're reading a form wrong. So don't always hear no for the first time. Make sure that there's not possibility that there's coverage there.
So I have a question, Stacie. If someone is not sure about their insurance, are you willing to look over somebody's insurance, even though they're currently using another agent, to find out if things are covered or not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If they just want someone to do, a review and say, hey, is there anything jumping out at you? Do you have recommendations? We're happy to do that. We're a partner to the associations, to the franchise systems. We may not always be the lowest premium out there, but we want to be a partner to you. So absolutely, we would do that.
So if people want to get in touch with you, Stacie, how do they do that?
So it's Stacie, Stacie.Waller, Waller, at TrueCordia.com. Just a little bit about TrueCordia. We are one of the largest fastest growing insurance brokers in the United States, top 20. And so we have offices throughout the country, but I happen to be based in the Cleveland, Ohio area.
Okay. Thank you, Stacie. I appreciate your time. And insurance is one of those things you don't know if it's not right until it's too late. So I would definitely, if you don't know what you're covered for, give Stacie a call. At least you need to know what you don't know, which would be helpful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Stacie. I appreciate you being here.
All right. Thanks, Paul.